My sister forced me to spend $50,000 on her wedding, then she sued me for more money. Now she's sleeping on a couch while I bought my own house. I'm 30 years old, I work in corporate finance, and I still can't believe I got to the point of cutting off contact completely with my family. But after spending $50,000 on my younger sister's wedding and basically being treated like an ATM for years, the time came to say enough. The thing is, it wasn't just the wedding. I mean, that was the start of this whole mess. But what came after was so ridiculous, so absurdly shameless, that sometimes I still wonder if it really happened, or if I'm living in some kind of alternate reality. I guess I should start from the beginning so this makes sense. I grew up being the older brother, the responsible one. You know how it is. I always had to take care of Vanessa when we were kids because our parents worked a lot. Vanessa is 26 now, 4 years younger than me, and since we were kids, it was clear she was the golden child, the one who could do whatever she wanted without consequences. I got good grades, worked part-time since I was 16, helped around the house, and my parents would just give me pats on the back and that was it. Vanessa could fail classes, come home late, spend money like crazy, and my parents always had an excuse for her. It was always poor Vanessa. She's going through something difficult. Give her time. She'll mature eventually. Spoiler alert, she never matured. When I finished college, I got a good job at a financial firm in the city. I started earning, well, like really well, for someone my age. And basically from that moment, I became the family bank. At first, it was small things. Mom would call saying, "Hey, Steven, could you help me with $200 for the car?" Or, "Dad needed help with some house repair." And I'd say, "Sure, no problem," because that's what family does, right? They help each other. But with Vanessa, it was always different. She never asked for $200. She asked for 500, then 800, then 1,000. And it was always for something supposedly urgent, like she needed to pay her apartment because she lost her job again, or her car needed emergency repairs, or she had credit card debts she couldn't pay. And every time I gave her money, she promised she'd pay me back. She swore that this time was different, that she had learned her lesson, but I never saw a single cent back. What really started this nightmare was like 2 years ago when Vanessa met Lucas on some dating app. Lucas is 28, 2 years older than Vanessa, and from the start, I didn't like him. I can't lie. The guy was one of those who always talks about his big plans and projects but doesn't actually do anything, all talk and zero action. He worked at different places, never lasted more than 6 months anywhere, always had some excuse for why he'd been fired or why he had decided to quit because the environment was toxic or whatever. And Vanessa was completely blinded by him. She thought he was amazing, that he was ambitious, and just needed the right opportunity to succeed. I saw the reality, which was that he was a bum who had no idea how to manage money and who perfectly matched my sister in that aspect. So, after dating for like 8 months, Lucas proposed to Vanessa with a ring that probably cost him like $300, but that she swore was super expensive and showed how much he loved her. They got engaged in December. I think it was like the week before Christmas. And Vanessa immediately started planning this huge, elaborate wedding as if she had an unlimited budget. She talked about wanting 200 guests, an elegant venue, a designer dress, live band, open bar all night, imported flowers, themed decoration, basically everything you see in those wedding magazines for millionaire people. And I thought, well, she and Lucas will have to adjust their expectations to their real budget because neither of them had savings. Vanessa was earning like minimum wage, working at a clothing store, and Lucas at that time was between jobs again. But then, like 2 weeks after the engagement, my mom called me. And when I saw her name on the screen, I already knew. I already knew exactly what the conversation was going to be about. I answered, and she started with her typical sweet and manipulative tone, saying, "Steven, honey, I need to talk to you about something important." I said, "What's up, Mom?" And she told me, "Well, it's about Vanessa's wedding. She's always dreamed of a beautiful wedding. It's her special day. It's something that only happens once in a lifetime. And your dad and I want to help her, but unfortunately, our financial situation isn't the best right now." And I already knew where this was going. I could see it coming from miles away, but I let her talk. She told me they thought maybe I could help a little with some wedding expenses. Just some small things, nothing major. I swear my first instinct was to say no, to say it was ridiculous, that Vanessa and Lucas should have a wedding they could pay for themselves. But my mom started with the guilt trip, saying that Vanessa was devastated because she couldn't have her dream wedding, that she had always imagined this perfect day since she was a little girl, that it would be so sad for her to have to settle for something small and ordinary when her only brother was earning so well and could help her easily. And she mentioned that I was the best man, that it was my responsibility to support my sister in this important moment, and basically made me feel like the worst person in the world for even considering saying no. So I sighed and said, "Okay, how much do you need?" Mom told me they had done the numbers and they needed help with the venue, which cost like $15,000. I almost choked when I heard that figure. Like $15,000 for a wedding venue. But Mom quickly added that it was a beautiful place. Very elegant, with gardens and incredible views. Perfect for photos, and that Vanessa had cried when she saw it because it was exactly what she wanted. So I said, "Well, I can help with that." And Mom was so happy, so grateful, telling me I was the best brother in the world, that Vanessa would be so excited. I hung up the phone thinking, okay, 5,000 is a lot of money, but I can handle it. I have good savings. It's not the end of the world. It's for my sister. It's her wedding. But that was just the beginning, because it turns out some small things meant basically everything. 2 weeks later, Mom called me again saying the catering was going to cost more than expected because Vanessa wanted a gourmet 3-course menu, plus appetizers and elaborate desserts, which would be another $12,000. Then it was the dress. Vanessa found one from a designer that cost her $8,000, and when I suggested maybe she could look for something more affordable, she literally cried and told me I was ruining her wedding, that I didn't understand how important this was to her. After that came the live band. Because a DJ wasn't special enough, another $5,000. The imported flowers that had to be specifically white and pink peonies, because that's what Vanessa had seen on Pinterest, $3,000. The complete theme decoration with special lights and elaborate centerpieces, $4,000. The professional photographer and videographer, $6,000. Every time I thought we were done with expenses, something new appeared. Vanessa needed special shoes, $500. Lucas needed a custom-tailored suit, $1,000. The guests needed elegant favors to take home, another $800. They had to rent special transportation for the bride and groom, a vintage classic car, $1,200. And every time I tried to set a limit or suggest cheaper alternatives, Vanessa accused me of not loving her, of being selfish, of ruining the most important day of her life. My parents didn't help at all. They always took her side, saying, "Stephen, it's just money. Your sister only gets married once. You should be happy to be able to do. Tell this for her." I did the final math after the wedding, and I had spent $50,000 on a wedding that wasn't even mine, for a sister who had never paid me back even $5 of everything I had lent her before. But hey, the wedding was beautiful. I can't deny it. Like everything looked like it came out of a magazine. Vanessa was radiant in her expensive dress. Lucas was crying at the altar as if he really understood the commitment he was making. My parents were so proud taking pictures with everyone, and I was standing there in my best man suit thinking I just emptied half my savings for this. I hope at least this ends here. Obviously, it didn't end there, because Vanessa has never known when to stop. The first 2 months after the wedding were relatively quiet. I think they were in their honeymoon phase, living in their small 2-bedroom apartment, supposedly being responsible adults. But then the calls started again. First, it was Vanessa saying, "Hey, Stephen, we have a small problem with rent this month. Lucas is between jobs again, and we don't have enough. Could you lend us $900 just for this month? I promise we'll pay you back next month." I was tired, like really exhausted from this dynamic, but I thought, well, they're newlyweds, they're adjusting. I'll give them this one last chance. The next month was the same, and the next, and the next. It was always Lucas is looking for work, but there's nothing good. Or Lucas started at a new place, but they don't pay him for 2 weeks. or we had unexpected car expenses, or the refrigerator broke. And the amount kept going up. First it was $900 for rent, then $900 plus $200 for utilities, then $900 plus $200 plus $300 for other bills. In 6 months I had given them like another $10,000 on top of the $50,000 for the wedding, and I was starting to feel the impact on my finances, like I couldn't save like before. I was using more of my salary than I should just to keep them afloat. What finally made me explode was a family dinner, like 9 months after the wedding. Mom had organized a gathering at her house, like a casual Sunday thing, and we were all sitting there eating when Vanessa super casually said, "Hey, Steven, Lucas and I have been looking at houses. You know, we want to buy something of our own instead of throwing money away on rent, and we found a perfect one, but we need help with the down payment." And she said it like that, as if she was asking me to pass the salt, as if it was the most normal thing in the world for me to put down the down payment on her house. I asked her how much we were talking about, and she said, "Well, the house costs $280,000 and we need 10% down payment, so that would be $28,000. But you don't have to give it all at once. You could give it in payments if that works better for you." I sat there staring at her, waiting for her to say, "Just kidding." But she was completely serious, waiting for my answer with that manipulative smile she always uses when she wants something. And something inside me just broke. Like all the frustration and resentment from years of being used as her personal ATM just exploded. I told her, "Vanessa, I already gave you $50,000 for your wedding, plus another $10,000 in recent months for your rent and bills. I'm absolutely not going to give you another $28,000 for a house down payment. If you can't afford a house, then you're not ready to buy one." The face she made, God, I'll never forget that face. Like I had told her I wished she hadn't gotten married or something equally horrible. She turned to my parents, expecting them to scold me, but I kept talking before they could say anything. I told them, "You know what? I'm done. I'm done being the family bank. I'm done financing Vanessa's life because clearly neither she nor Lucas have any idea how to be responsible adults. I've been subsidizing their life for years, and I don't even get a thank you, just more and more requests for money." Vanessa looked at me with teary eyes and said, "You know what, Steven? You're a fucking loser. You have all that money and you can't help your own sister. What kind of brother are you? You're alone and bitter, and that's why you can't stand to see Lucas and me happy." And I waited for my parents to stop her, to tell her she was out of line, but Mom just looked at her plate and Dad kind of nodded a little as if he agreed with her. That was it for me. I got up from the table, grabbed my keys and jacket, and said, "You're on your own. It's over. Don't count on me for anything anymore." And I walked out of that house swearing to myself I was never going back. The next few days were a bombardment of messages and calls, Vanessa crying, saying she didn't mean it, that she was stressed about the house situation, Mom saying I was exaggerating and being dramatic, that family forgives and gets over things. I blocked Vanessa on everything, changed my doc number, and only kept minimal contact with my parents through text. I thought that would be the end, that eventually they'd get over it and move on with their lives without my money. But Vanessa, being Vanessa, decided to create a GoFundMe asking for donations for her house down payment. She wrote this whole dramatic story about how she was a young couple struggling to achieve the American dream of homeownership, how they had worked so hard but the economy was tough, basically making themselves the victims. A mutual friend, Caroline, sent me the link because she thought it was ridiculous. The GoFundMe was active for like 2 months and raised $75. $75 out of the $28,000 they needed. And apparently Vanessa was furious that nobody was donating, posting updates saying she was disappointed in her friends and family for not supporting them. 3 months after our fight at dinner, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered, and it was Vanessa's landlord, the owner of the apartment where they lived. He told me, "Sir, I'm the landlord of your sister Vanessa's apartment. She gave me your number saying you would take care of the rent for the last 3 months she hasn't paid." I said, "Excuse me, what?" And he explained that Vanessa had stopped paying rent, that she owed him $2,700, and that when he confronted her, she had told him her brother was rich and that I would cover everything, to give her my number and I'd pay him. I was so angry I could barely speak. I told the landlord I had no agreement with my sister, that I wasn't responsible for her debts, and that if she didn't pay, he should do whatever he could legally do. The poor man sounded frustrated but understood he'd been lied to. 2 weeks later, I received legal documents in the mail. Vanessa was suing me. Reading the papers, she claimed we had a verbal agreement that I would cover her living expenses during her first 2 years of marriage while Lucas established his career, and that I had breached this agreement, causing them financial and emotional harm. She had screenshots of messages supposedly from me saying things like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I'll always be there to support you." But the screenshots were obviously edited. Some conversations completely made up. Her lawsuit was for $45,000 for uncovered expenses and emotional damages. I hired a lawyer, spent another $3,000 on legal fees, and we went to court. My lawyer presented my bank statements showing all the payments I had already made. My real unedited messages where I never promised indefinite financial support, and basically destroyed Vanessa's case in like 20 minutes. The judge, an older woman who looked annoyed to be wasting her time with this, told Vanessa it was obvious her evidence was fabricated, that suing a family member for gifts he voluntarily gave was absurd, and that she was dismissing the case. She also fined Vanessa $500 for wasting the court's time with a frivolous lawsuit. Vanessa left there crying. Lucas was following her, trying to console her, and I just left feeling a mixture of vindication and sadness that my own sister had gotten to that point. A month after court, my parents called me. I hadn't talked to them since the dinner incident. There had only been some basic messages like birthdays and that. Dad sounded weird on the phone, like embarrassed, and he told me, "Stephen, we need to talk about something serious." They told me Vanessa had been using their credit cards without permission, that she had basically maxed them out buying furniture for her apartment, clothes, eating at expensive restaurants, completely unnecessary things. She owed them like $18,000 in card debt, and they couldn't pay it. They were considering declaring bankruptcy. And then came the question I knew was coming. Dad asked me if I could help them pay the debts, that it was an emergency, that if they didn't pay, they were going to lose their house. And I, like without any doubt in my mind, told them no. I told them that for years I had been rescuing them financially, especially Vanessa, and that all I got in return was being treated like an ATM without feelings. I reminded them how at that dinner, when Vanessa insulted me, neither of them defended me, how they always took her side no matter how ridiculous her demands were, how they made me feel guilty every time I tried to set boundaries. I told them that if they were in financial trouble because of Vanessa, that was their problem for spoiling her so much and never teaching her responsibility. Mom started crying, saying we were family, that families support each other, and I told her that family also respects each other, and that they never respected me. I hung up and blocked them too. Like 2 weeks later, Vanessa managed to get my new number. I have no idea how. She called me like at 11 at night. Her voice sounded sweet and remorseful, very different from the last time we talked. She told me, "Stephen, I know I've made mistakes. I know I've treated you badly and that I haven't been a good sister. But I need you to know that I miss you. I miss having my brother in my life. I've been going to therapy, and my therapist helped me realize how much I've used you and how much damage I've caused you." She sounded so sincere that for a second, just a second, I considered that maybe she really had changed. But then she continued. She said, "I've been working on myself, trying to be more independent, but things have been really tough, Stephen. Lucas lost his job again, and we're about to be evicted. We have to leave the apartment in 2 weeks, and we have nowhere to go. Mom and Dad can't help us because of the credit card problem. We just need a small push to get back on our feet. Just like $5,000 for the deposit on a new place and first month's rent. I swear it's the last thing I'll ask you. After this, I'll never ask you for money again." And there it was, the real reason for her call, the manipulative apology designed to make me lower my guard and open my wallet again. I told her, "Vanessa, the answer is no. It's always going to be no. I'm never going to give you more money ever in my life. You need to learn to solve your own problems. And if that means you have to live with Lucas in the car or in a shelter or with friends, well, that's what will have to happen. But I'm not going to rescue you anymore." She immediately changed her tone. The sweet voice disappeared, and it was back to being the real Vanessa, yelling that I was a shitty brother, that I was going to regret treating her like this, that someday I was going to need my family, and nobody was going to be there for me. I hung up on her, blocked that number too, and decided that was officially the last interaction I was going to have with any member of my family. It's been like 8 months since all that. I haven't talked to Vanessa, Lucas, or my parents. I blocked everyone on social media, on WhatsApp, changed my number again, and only gave it to close friends and work colleagues. At first, I felt guilty. Like I thought, am I really doing the right thing, cutting off contact like this, so drastically? But the more time passed, the more I realized how much better my life was without them. My bank account started recovering. I could save again, and like 3 months ago, I did something I never thought I'd do so quickly after the disaster of Vanessa's wedding. I bought my own house. It's not a mansion or anything super luxurious. It's a 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood like 30 minutes from the city. But it's mine. I completely paid for because I used everything I had recovered from savings, plus the money I would have spent continuing to support my family. Every time I come in and see my furniture, my space, my things, without anyone asking me for money or making me feel guilty for wanting to have something for myself, I feel this peace I hadn't felt in years. Literally, in years. And yes, sometimes I feel lonely. Sometimes I think about how things used to be before everything became about money, but then I remember Vanessa's face calling me a loser, my parents' silence not defending me, all the times I felt used and worthless beyond my bank account, and I know I made the right decision. Caroline, the friend who sent me the GoFundMe link, told me recently that Vanessa and Lucas finally moved in with Lucas's parents after being evicted, that they're sleeping on a sofa bed in the living room of a 2-bedroom house where like 5 people live. Part of me feels sorry, like she's my sister after all, but the bigger part of me thinks she's finally facing the consequences of her decisions. She's finally living the reality I was protecting her from with my money. And maybe, though probably not, this will make her mature a little. Or at least learn that she can't live expecting others to solve all her problems. My parents apparently had to sell their house and move to a smaller apartment to cover the credit card debts. Part of me feels bad for them. They're my parents. But I also know this is the result of years of decisions they made, of never setting boundaries with Vanessa, of always expecting me to be the one who fixed everything. It's not my responsibility to save them from the consequences of raising a daughter who thinks the world owes her everything. Last week, I was organizing my home office, hanging some pictures and diplomas on the wall, and I found an old photo of when we were kids, Vanessa and me at an amusement park smiling with cotton candy in our hands. For a second, I got nostalgic thinking about when things were simple, when she was just my little sister and I was just her older brother who took care of her. But then I thought about everything that happened, about the $60,000 plus that I spent on her, about the lies, about the lawsuit, about how they treated me, and I put the photo in a box at the back of the closet. Some chapters of your life need to close so you can start new ones. And this definitely was one that needed to end. Now I'm focused on rebuilding my life completely on my terms, without the burden of supporting people who never valued what I did for them. I'm dating someone, a woman I met at work a few months ago, and it's refreshing to be with someone who has her life together, who pays her own bills, who understands the value of money and hard work. I haven't told her the whole story yet, just the general parts, but eventually I will. For now, I'm enjoying this feeling of freedom, of knowing that my money is mine, that my decisions are mine, and that I don't have to ask permission or feel guilty for living my life the way I want to live it. Sometimes people ask me if I'll ever reconcile with my family, and honestly, I don't know. Never say never. I guess. But right now, the answer is no. Definitely not. It took me a long time. A lot of money and a lot of emotional pain to get to the point of being able to set firm boundaries and prioritize my own well-being over family guilt, and I'm not willing to go back to that dark place where I felt used and unappreciated. If someday Vanessa really changes, really learns, really apologizes for real without a hidden agenda, maybe we could have some kind of superficial relationship, but it's never going to be what it was. That's clear. And I'm at peace with that. I really am at peace with that.